Hello, I'm Bart Dessart, part of the AWI Extension SA team. In this 10-minute talk, we're going to hear from Mark Ferguson, CEO of neXtgen Agri, about using data to make decisions.
So collecting all this data isn't just about filling up your computer with spreadsheets, it's about turning that into actionable decisions ultimately, and that's obviously pretty clear. It is worth pointing out that having heaps of data doesn't necessarily result in a better decision. It can actually lead you down the wrong garden path, so it's worth just knowing some of the pitfalls. I think the saying goes that with great power comes great responsibility, and I think data is like that, with having data will help you go in a particular direction really fast, but if that's the wrong direction, that's not the outcome we're looking for. So what are the things to watch? The biggest one is often birth type. If you're in merino sheep, just being careful that not just collecting partial data. So if you just collect weaning weight, fleece weight and micron, the chances, and then you select on them and you use all the data to make good selections on that process, there's a good chance that you're actually going to select single-born animals out of mixed age ewes, because those animals actually have greater follicle density, have more fleece weight, lower fibre diameter, and will be heavier at weaning. And so what you've actually done is just phenotypically selected the ones that may not be the animals you're after. If you've got a reproduction focus, then they were actually the very wrong animals that you were trying to get, or not all of the ones you wanted. And what we see, that's not just in data. When you're actually physically inspecting animals, if we don't know who's a single and who's a twin, you're actually, you, a professional classer, we all get tricked by those singles because they are slightly denser, slightly better nourished wool, slightly better quality wool, and all those things, slightly softer wool, all those things add up to make it actually, our brains select those single-born animals when we probably want a balance of singles and twins, or we often do want a balance, or we might even want to slant that towards having twins. And so we've got to be careful on these things. So I think the biggest one we have to watch is that birth type and dam age one, and we can counter that by collecting, recording which animals are born single, which animals are born twin, which animals are born out of a maiden, and which ones are born out of mixed age. And again, that is as simple as just recording which tag numbers went in their ears, and then using that tag bucket file to link back to the EIDs that we'll cover off in this video series. Really quite an easy process if you've got the discipline in place to get that done. And then when it comes around to hogget classing, or you're going through those two-tooth ewes, you're just going through that information. You can draft them into those 4 groups, or you can actually index them properly and make sure that's accounted for. So that's a big one to watch. Some other things to watch are around correlations. So every trait is correlated with another trait. We sort of know, I guess in the merino breeders, know it really clearly, that fibre diameter fleece weight trade-off, or that correlation we've known forever. We have successfully bred foreign animals that cut lots of wool now, but there was that correlation we had to work with. So they are worth watching, or worth being aware of. The key ones are probably, the key favourable correlation is probably that condition score or fat. That is favourably correlated with most things. So the reason we encourage people to condition score animals as 12-month-old and using that in their selection process is because we see that being correlated with lamb survival. We see that being correlated with the ewe's health itself. We see it being correlated with its worm resistance. There's a whole range of things that actually go favourably with something like condition score. So some traits work well and are nice to work with and correlated in a favourable way, correlated favourably with CV, for example. And then there's other traits like maybe breech wrinkle. So breech wrinkle is an example of a trait that's unfavourably correlated with most things. So other than fibre diameter and fleece weight, which it is favourably correlated with, it's actually negatively correlated with your reproduction, your growth traits, and your health traits. And so there's a whole heap of reasons that higher wrinkle animals are actually harder to farm, but there is that trade-off with fleece weight and fibre diameter. So being aware of some of these things is important. There's some great resources that PIRSA have got on those correlations, and so you can grab them and have a look through them just to understand where that fit, and so you make sure that you're not driving down one direction and accidentally sort of careering off in another direction, a trait that you might not be monitoring or might not be managing, and so that actually ends up in a worse place than where you wanted to go for that particular trait. So that's definitely something worth watching. Really critical that we counter that. We can counter these things all pretty easily. It's never one or the other. You just need to make sure you've got whole information. So as you go down your data journey, don't just have, we'll encourage you to start simply, but just be careful to to act strongly on partial data. So if you rather than just collecting weaning weight and fleece weight or something, maybe if you're collecting condition score and a micron and maybe that scanning result, now you've got 5 bits of information that actually puts you in a much better place to select the right animal than you would with any one of those, because any one of those will have correlations with the others and you might end up selecting animals that you don't actually want. So I guess as we bring all this data together, it is important that it's focused on your plan, on your data, on the things that you want to improve most on your enterprise. It is worth just making sure that you're aware of the things that are correlated with those traits, so you don't lead yourself down the wrong track. That's all very manageable. It's all there's lots of great tools and lots of great advice around to help you do that. Again, you don't have to do all this on your own. There's great people around that can help you do that, or you can get a few simple Excel skills, and again we'll have some information around that to make sure you can just analyse that data and have a quick look and make sure you go the right direction.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing your experience and professional knowledge of how to use data to make decisions. This 10-minute talk was made possible by Australian Wool Innovation, the Department of Primary Industries and Regions SA, and the South Australian Sheep Industry Fund.